Good evening. Hey, tonight I'm so excited about what I wanted to share with y'all because I have always been super huge into Genesis and also super huge into Revelations. I love the real life stories of people in Genesis. Now, recently I've watched quite a bit of Rob Skiba, and he was talking about 3 books that the Bible talks about. And the Bible talks about Jasher, it talks about Enoch, and the book of Jubilees. Now, these 3 books, the Bible, what is the right word? It references them, and it'll be like, does not say in Jasher what happened. So it endorses them. And I figure if the Bible endorses them, then it's safe reading for us. And I'm so glad that I got the book of Jasher and started reading it, because the stories are they're just so coming alive to me. And they've always been really fascinating to me, but the book of Jasher just kind of puts a human element and spin on it that I wasn't used to. And but some really fascinating things came out. I'm trying to stand tonight because I'm all excited. When I was reading about Esau and Jacob. Now, the Bible has frequently said, that Esau have I hated, and I'm always like, geez, man, that's pretty potent, Lord. Why did you hate Esau? What was it about Esau that God didn't like? Well, when I read in Jasher, I find that Esau was a very violent man, and I think probably violence for the sake of violence instead of, it having a good reason for it. Over and over again, it says, as was his usual, he went out to hunt. So it also says that he was very deceptive and manipulative. So God doesn't like deception or manipulation. So he wasn't into Esau. Anyway, one thing that was really cool is Rebecca is like the first woman that was recorded of having twins, which is really interesting. And when you read that part in Jasher, it really comes to life if you've ever been pregnant. And since I've had 3 children, I remember what it was like to be pregnant the first time. You're like, hey, did you ever have this happen to you? Hey, did you have this happen to you? And for women, pregnancy and the things that we endure during pregnancy is like war stories for dudes. So that part was really, really awesome and alive to me. And then what I found really, really amazing was that her brother, Laban, they also were barren for a long time, he and one of his wives. And when God opened, I'm trying to remember his wife's name, I'm not sure. When he opened her womb, then she had twins. And when I read in the Bible about Leah and Rachel, I thought there was a pretty big age difference between them, because the dad was like, oh, I couldn't marry her off. I couldn't marry Rachel off first because she was youngest and I have to marry the oldest one. Well, they were twins. It's ridiculous. So Laban, he was a con artist basically. But I just got to share these really important facts that I found in this book last night, and I'm hoping that y'all will find it exciting. Now, I'm sure that you Freemason followers who just like to follow me so you can badmouth my stuff and be haters, you're probably not going to find any of this interesting. But maybe because when I look in this book, I find evidence of shapes shifting. And who would have ever thought that you'd find that in the Bible, right? Shape-shifting. Angels shape-shifting. So stay tuned, because hopefully I'll make it in 15 minutes. If not, I might have to do 2 videos. Anyway, stay tuned for that part, because that part is really, really exciting too. Okay, so, all right. I'm going to read a little about Esau. He went out and hunting, as was his usual thing to do. And it's a very interesting story about what happens this one day. Then he went out to go hunting, and it just puts a whole I'm so excited. I'm like not swallowing correctly. It just brings a whole new light to why Esau sold his birthright. I always thought that he was just a little bit tired from hunting, and he came in and he's like, dude, I don't care about my birthright. I'm starving, right? Which was horrible, but he really, really had a hard day. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about his hard day. So you can see that, you know, it was a tough day. Okay. And Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were. Nimrod was out in the forest, and Esau was out hunting, and Esau comes up against Nimrod. And Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were, when Esau started suddenly from his lurking place, and drew his sword, and hastened and ran to Nimrod, and cut off his head. And Esau fought a desperate fight with the 2 that were with Nimrod. And when they called out to him, Esau turned to them and smote them to death with his sword. And all the mighty men of Nimrod, who had left him to go to the wilderness, heard the cry at a distance. And they knew the voices of those 2 men, and they ran to know the cause of it. When they found their king and the 2 men that were with him lying dead in the wilderness, and when Esau saw the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garments of Nimrod, which Nimrod's father had bequeathed to Nimrod, and with which Nimrod prevailed over the whole land. And he ran and concealed them in his house. And Esau took those garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men. And he came unto his father's house, wearied and exhausted from fight. And he was ready to die through grief when he approached his brother Jacob and sat before him. And he said unto his brother Jacob, Behold, I shall die this day, and wherefore then do I want this birthright? And Jacob acted wisely with Esau in this matter. And Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, for it was so brought about by the Lord. So the Lord brought it all about. And Esau's portion in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham had bought from the children of Heth for a possession of the burial ground, Esau also sold to Jacob. And Jacob bought all this from his brother Esau for value given. And Jacob wrote the whole of this in a book, and he testified the same with witnesses, and he sealed it, and the book remained in the hands of Jacob. So he didn't just off the fly go, hey, yeah, you can have my birthright, dude, because I'm so hungry, I don't care. I mean, there were witnesses, it was put in a book, it was signed, sealed, the whole 9 yards. He knew what he was doing, and he did not care. I think he thought, you know, I'm a great hunter. I don't really need all that stuff because I can do it all myself. Okay, and then the second really cool thing that I found in Jasher, that's what I'm reading from today, is Jasher, is about Rachel. And I've kind of always had a problem with Rachel because Rachel stole her father's images, which I was told all the time growing up were idols. And I'm like, how, why is she so special? She stole her daddy's idols when she left his home. And so I kind of judged her. And after reading this story in Jasher, I've had to repent and completely change my mind about her. And so this is really exciting. And really, I want you to think about it when I read it, because it sounds like exactly what we see in Satanism today. How they'll like draw a circle on the floor and have candles around it. And I've even seen like a skull with a candle in it. So keep that in mind as I read this next little part. And Rachel stole her father's images, and she took them, and she concealed them upon the camel upon which she sat, and she went on. And this is the manner of the images. In taking a man who is the firstborn, I find that very interesting, had to be the firstborn, and slaying him, and taking the hair off of his head, and taking salt, and salting the head, and anointing it in oil. Sounds kind of like a shrunken head. Then taking a small tablet of copper or a tablet of gold, and writing the name upon it, and placing the tablet under his tongue, and taking the head with the tablet under the tongue, and putting it in the house, and lighting up lights before it, and bowing down to it. And at the time when they bow down to it, it speaketh to them in all matters that they ask of it, through the power of the name which is written in it. And some make them in figures of men, of gold and silver, and go to them in times known to them. And the figures, that sounds a little like time travel. Anyway, and the figures receive the influence of the stars. Does that sound a little bit like my video of the black goo and the fallen stars? It does. If you haven't watched that, you might want to. Okay. And the figures receive the influence of the stars, and tell them future things. And in this manner were the images which Rachel stole from her father. And Rachel stole these images which were her father's, in order that Laban might know, in order that Laban, her dad, might not know through them where Jacob had gone. So she didn't want her father to catch up with them. So she took the images so he couldn't consult wicked spirits, fallen angels, about where their location was. And Laban came home, and he asked concerning Jacob and his household, and he was not to be found. And Laban sought his images to know where Jacob had gone, and could not find them. So when Laban couldn't find his images, then he got really hacked off. And he sent messengers to Esau to badmouth Jacob, and said all kind of things about him that were not true. And then what's really cool is it stirs up all the hatred inside of Esau for Jacob, which he was already hating on him because he stole his birthright, which really he didn't steal it, he gave it away. For a bowl of lentils is when I looked it up before, it said it was lentils. Ooh, yum. I don't know if you ever made lentils, but I'm a foodie, and I've had lentils lots and lots of times, and they are not what I would consider worthy of a birthright. It's not like he had, steak and potatoes and cheesecake and champagne and all this. I mean, it was a bowl of lentils, big wow. So anyway, I'm going to have to do a second video because I'm about to run out of time. Please stay tuned, because I haven't got to the shapeshifter stuff yet, but I'm just about to. But we did get to part of the coolness. So hang tight. There's nothing more exciting than the Bible and biblical times. And I hope that I am doing an okay job of bringing it to light to you. Thanks.